that's a little bit disturbing, but it tells me that Dr. Kimble's situation here is a real scenario that people live through, and that maybe that idea of justice is not a human idea.
Hey everyone, I'm Doug and welcome to Movies in 12. I'm here with Nathan and Drew. We're doing 12 minutes of just talking about the spirituality or certain scenes that we found that really moved us in a spiritual way. Today, we are doing The Fugitive, 1993 movie starring Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones. Drew, why don't you give us a quick rundown of what that movie was about?
All right, Harrison Ford plays Dr. Richard Kimble, who is falsely accused of killing his wife. After being found guilty, he is determined to bring the guilty parties to justice. He knows it was a one-armed man. He fought with that man. That man was in his house. I love that line, by the way. Anyway, he goes off, and Tommy Lee Jones is a U.S. Marshal who is trying to find Dr. Kimble. Kimble runs through Chicago. He finds out that he was set up by his buddy, who is on the board of a pharmaceutical company, who is pushing through a drug that actually causes liver damage. Kimble found out about it, so his buddy wants Kimble eliminated. It was supposed to be a burglary gone wrong. Kimble wasn't home. Pieces it together, and in the end, Kimble is, I assume, found not guilty in a retrial, and the other two people go to jail.
Perfect. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to start our timers, and we have 12 minutes to hit certain points that we want to talk about. If the 12 minutes runs out and we haven't finished, well, too bad. So we got to keep an eye on the time. Nathan, we're going to start with you. Go to Drew. I got some ideas to finish up with. So, gentlemen, are you ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
Spiritual themes I thought were interesting in this movie were the concept of justice existing independently of humans and human consensus. So we see the justice system fail here. And, if they didn't have the evidence to clear Dr. Kimble, well, then he'd just have to live with people thinking he was a murderer and he's not. And if you are in that situation, which apparently that happens, you're just left hoping that God sees you, or a higher power understands what happens and ultimately makes things right. So I kind of liked following that thread. He believes in himself. I got curious, so I looked up, how many people are actually innocently incarcerated every year. And it is surprisingly 4 to 6%, according to the Georgia Innocence Project. And
Did you say 46 or 426?
426.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez,
And
okay.
a Michigan
That's a
law
little bit better.
school study found that in the past 5 years, people convicted of crimes that were later proven their innocence increased by 70% in just 5 years. So that's a little bit disturbing, but it tells me that Dr. Kimble's situation here is a real scenario that people live through, and that maybe that idea of justice is not a human idea. Like, a lot of us believe that whether or not humans find justice in a particular situation, justice still exists outside of human consensus and what we can see, with our minds. You kind of get what I mean there?
I think so, yeah. To the point where it's like
justice isn't a human concept.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's something that we try to achieve, but we're never going to be 100% at just. Is that kind of what you're going for?
Yeah. Like, we do our best.
And just like with, being Christians, sinning is wrong. We try to be wrong, or try to be right. Some of us try to be wrong, not us. But so I think that's what I'm seeing, is that he's trying to reach that justice. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't think of how to say it, and I'm running out of time. He believes in justice, but we do our best as people, but we don't always get there. And we all seem to know that there is some kind of objective justice out there. That's all I got.
Any scenes in the movie that come up in, that kind of portray that you think of?
I mean, Drew mentioned that scene where he's in the courtroom and he can't believe he's been found guilty. Like, he knows this whole time. I wonder if you would ever question yourself, like, am I crazy? Did I do this in my sleep or something?
Mm,
You'll wonder what would go through a person's head in a situation like this, but he knows that he didn't do it, and
Yeah.
he has
right.
to fight for himself. He has to fight for the justice system to try again, basically, which is
Mm.
interesting because we believe in the justice system, but I think we all know that it's not perfect because it's run by humans, but it's better than nothing.
Very true.
Yeah.
Drew, what did you see in the movie?
Well, what I found is he's a doctor. His job is to take care of people, to help people, and try to heal people. And there's a couple instances in this film where he still is trying to do that, even though he's on the run. He doesn't have a whole lot of time to stop and do some of the things that he needs to do because, he's wanted by the U.S. Marshals. And there's a train wreck is how he got free because the other inmates were messing around and caused the train to crash. And he's out. He knows he has to run, but he stopped to help save one of the guards. The people who have him locked up, he still went back and made sure that that guard got out. Later on, he shaves his beard and he colors his hair and he poses as a janitor at the hospital so he can try to get some ideas of who this one-armed man could be. And he takes the time with a patient who came in, a young kid who can't breathe, and he's reading his charts and he realizes that they're giving him the wrong medicine. So he swaps out the medicine for this kid. And he's taking a giant risk by doing this because if a doctor sees a janitor looking at a kid's chart, that's it's going to raise some questions, and it does.
Which it did.
It did, and he blew his cover. But he still has that mentality that I have to help people and try to save people, even though he's still trying to save himself. But he's still putting other people first at times. And the parallel that I found with Christ is, he's going out and doing the same thing during his preaching and in his works, even though there are people out there who did not want him to be doing it. He knew that he was taking a risk every time that he went out and preached and spread this word. There were people who didn't want him around. They wanted him gone and eliminated. But he still took that time and, put himself on the line for the benefit of others, to help other people. That's what I saw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. I mean, do you get a Good Samaritan vibe in that too? I mean,
Oh yeah, a
is
little
that
bit.
kind of parallel with the Good Samaritan? I'm trying to remember.
Oh,
We talked
yeah.
about that
Because
Well,
you've
it
got
a little while
criminal.
back.
You've got a criminal helping people, and in that
Mhm.
story, they thought Samaritans were like the scum of the earth, but they're actually the hero of the story, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it.
Yeah. And that's got to be tough because you're talking about, like you said, he is fighting for his life pretty much.
Oh yeah.
Because if he gets caught now he's a fleeing suspect and you just triple the time. He's probably, I don't know, did he get life in prison
Probably
anyhow?
got. I would assume that he
So-
got
He
life.
did.
Yeah, now it's, a lot worse. So
Oh yeah.
So he's got to stay hidden. He's got to stay low key, but at the same point he can't.
Yeah.
It is his duty, it is in him to make this happen. So
Yeah.
I wish we knew, like, why does he feel he has this moral obligation to help people when
He's a
he can barely
a
help
doctor.
himself? Like,
He's a
is it
doctor and
the
he's a good
Hippocratic Oath
guy.
thing?
No, I mean
Yeah.
that's a doctor. Like if you have a CPR card, if I'm CPR certified, I'm obligated. If I see somebody who needs CPR, I'm obligated to help them. It's like a Good Samaritan thing, is what they call it. You should do that. And doctors have that same thing. They have to help somebody if that person's in need. And so that's his mindset. I have to help. It's my job. I'm a doctor.
Interesting.
Mine kind of, I kind of caught a little justice thing with mine too, and a little bit different from what Nathan is saying, where throughout at the beginning of the movie, he believes in justice. He doesn't believe he's going to jail. He's like, I have justice on my side. I know I didn't do it and justice will prevail. And then he, obviously, it didn't. Justice, he believes, let him down. And, that kind of parallels with people going through rough times in their lives who go to church. I mean, how many times I think we've talked about this in the past. pull up TikTok, you're running through, and there's, these people that are just acting crazy and doing insane stuff, and they're making so much money just for acting that way.
Yeah.
And yet this person over here goes to church every day, prays every week, prays every night, and they're struggling just to pay some bills. And it's like, what am I doing wrong, God? What's happening? But they still believe. And that's what he does throughout the movie is, even though he believes justice let him down, maybe he's like, no, I got to believe justice will prevail. Let me get out there. Let me find a way to prove myself, or prove that justice can prevail. Justice is a good thing. Just like we believe in God. We have those rough times where something goes bad, you lose somebody close to you, and you're like, this, why? And you struggle with your faith in God, just like he struggled with his faith in justice system.
Oh, exactly.
And,
like, would you have a faith crisis if you were actually in his situation?
oh man, it'd be tough not to. I mean, like I said, I've been in those situations, not to that point. I've never been.
You've never been framed of murder?
I've never been framed for murder,
We can fix that
or
right
accused, or been in a courtroom for murder. But I've had those crises of faith where it's like, why is this happening?
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing wrong? And you struggle with it. And, take that times 1,000, where it's like, okay, you're being, accused of murder, and if they say guilty, you will never be free again. I don't know what I would be thinking in that situation.
Yeah, I agree.
And
just to have people think that you're a murderer when you actually loved the person who died, right?
mm-hmm.
Like, just to live with that and have to live with the way people view you, and it's not accurate. I mean, that is a hard thing.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the court scene. That was a really cool scene. I enjoyed, because that's when you saw him lose faith in the justice system, when he says, they say guilty, and his faith is just like, it's just really, really good acting, and you can just kind of see that. So I don't know, anything else?
Yeah, actually, I have a question. So the one-armed man is left-handed. Do you think the writers are trying to make a connection between him and the left-handed man from the Book of Judges?
Yeah, what?
Never mind. Time's up. Well,
Time.
don't worry about it. We'll get to it later.
Yeah, we'll hit that another time.
Yeah.
Anyway,
dang it!
That went pretty. You were thinking about that question for a long time. What you should have led with that.
I should have. I'll do it next time.
All right, there you go. All right, well, hey, that's Movies in 12. What'd you think? Give us comments down below. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up. Give us a subscribe. If you didn't like it, just subscribe anyhow. It's free. Gentlemen, thank you for your 15 minutes. And we're going to give this a shot again. So if there's a movie you want us to talk about in 15 minutes, put it down in the comments, and we'll see you again soon.